President Tokayev, dear friends, let me welcome you once again in Moscow, in Kremlin, on your state visit. As we said yesterday, such things are very important. And along with all other things, we see such a big delegation coming to Moscow from Kazakhstan today. State officials, representatives of business community. Our relationship with Kazakhstan is developing dynamically, and our experience confirms what is set down in our constitutions, Kazakhstan, and in our fundamental documents. Kazakhstan and Russia are allies and friends, and this is confirmed by specific projects. Russia is one of the leading trade and political partners of Kazakhstan, the biggest in investments, with some over $27 billion in trade turnover, and it's been 20 billion already over the first 8-9 months of this year, and investments are measured in billions as well. A lot of Russian businesses work successfully in Kazakhstan, and Kazakh businesses operate successfully in Russia. We have great prospects in this regard. We have projects, tens of billions of dollars worth of projects in the pipeline. In general, we have reached a situation when almost all settlements, international settlements, are done in national currencies, ensuring stability for participants of the business activity. We participate actively in lots of regional organizations. We communicate regularly, and we will soon meet at the CSTO forum in Bishkek, and then in St. Petersburg during our traditional CIS leader meeting and EUROSEC meeting. So it's a very eventful program, and it's being carried forward. There is already a memorandum in place underlining the results of your visit today. And it shows that our relationship is going on an even higher level. And this, of course, is very satisfying, because we are committed to further development of relationships with Kazakhstan. And I should say we are doing a great job. And I mean in regional connections. The 10 regions of the Russian Federation work actively with almost all regions of Kazakhstan. And today we're going to have an online communication session with Yuzhno-Uralsk, with our counterparts there, who are finalizing the year there. And then we will outline the cooperation among our regions for the near future. As for our humanitarian ties, they are developing on the basis of personal relations and everyday relationships among people, and exchange of delegations. Tonight we're going to be in the Bolshoi Theater together. And it has been developing since the times of the Soviet Union, when our states were part of the Soviet Union. There are lots of everyday connections, mixed marriages, mixed families, and this, we're glad to see this. We use everything that we have inherited from the past, and we move forward. I'm very happy to see you here, and I'm sure that this visit will go on the highest level. Thank you, President Putin. I'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude for the amazing hospitality we have enjoyed during our visit. We have seen with our own eyes that the Russian side prepared very well, down to the slightest aspects and nuances of this event. Our state visit to the Russian Federation is perhaps the biggest event of this year. Very detailed preparations with consultations in ministries and authorities, because the scale of cooperation between our two countries is unprecedented. There is probably not a sphere where we would not cooperate with the Russian Federation. You have just done a detailed breakdown of what has been done and what is going to be done. It's hard to add anything to that, but indeed, I'd like to note that the strategic partnership and allied relationships between our states is not just a figure of speech or some token statements. It's the essence of our cooperation. We treat our obligations with great responsibility in regard of documents signed. Yes, we do have some differences and questions sometimes, but this is life. And the fact that we have been able to find solutions to all issues that arise on our agenda. And we state with great pleasure that there are no problems in our bilateral relationships. You have mentioned all the spheres, and they are developing successfully. We have set the target for trade turnover at $30 billion, and I think this is a very feasible mark that we will soon reach. I would like to emphasize our cooperation with the Russian Federation in the sphere of nuclear energy. We're close to signing very important agreements that will open the way to the construction of nuclear power plants in cooperation with Rosatom. And this indeed is an important event. We're talking not only about the construction of the nuclear power plant itself, but about the creation of a whole new sphere of competence in Kazakhstan. We are satisfied to start cooperation in the sphere of education with 9 institutions, Russian institutes opening their branches in Kazakhstan. The Moscow Engineering and Physics Institute is opening its arm in Kazakhstan, and we have made everything possible to ensure accommodation for the professors and students, and I'm thankful to all the representatives of the education sphere of the Russian Federation for their contribution to that. And I'd like to note the fact that the Kazakhstan National University has opened its subsidiary in Omsk. At the Omsk State University, I pay great attention to education because I think we must create conditions for young people to pass the baton to them, to pass on the friendship and cooperation that we currently have. And as you rightfully mentioned, we started out as a single state, a single political and cultural space. But currently, the younger generation, they are 30, 33 years old, and they didn't see that state. And our goal is to pass this knowledge of each other, to pass this understanding of extreme importance of cooperating in all areas between Kazakhstan and the Russian Federation in the new geopolitical reality. And our younger generation must realize that without that, further existence in this turbulent world will not be possible. The state visit of the President of Kazakhstan to the Russian Federation largely contributes to this goal as well. And I believe that this practice will continue. And it is my pleasure to invite you, Mr. President, to visit Kazakhstan with a state visit next year. It's not about protocol details, it's about the essence of our cooperation. There are new generations of documents to be signed on summit level, and we must make sure that they are fulfilled. Thank you. It will be my pleasure to come to Kazakhstan.
President Putin, dear participants. This Interregional Cooperation Forum, Kazakhstan-Russia, is a symbol of our constructive partnership based on a mutual trust and a mutual benefit. This is a unique platform that gives rise to new economic, infrastructural, and humanitarian projects that are consistently implemented at the regional level. And this is very important as it is in the regions that the conditions for new economic growth and cooperation are laid down in industry, education, science, and culture. Cooperation between our countries in trade and economics is leading to sustainable growth year after year. Russia is Kazakhstan's largest trade and economic partner. Our mutual trade is now over $28 billion, and we are making consistent efforts to bring it to $30 billion. In 2024, Russian investments reached a record $4 billion, and the total accumulated investment from Russia to Kazakhstan is over $27 billion. Kazakhstan's investment into Russia is currently about $9 billion. There are over 20,000 companies with Russian capital operating successfully in Kazakhstan, creating jobs and making a contribution to the dynamic growth of our economy. These impressive indicators show the dynamics and the energy of our development. I believe that we must continue to go forward to grow our investment and trade. And it is symbolic that this forum is held in Uralsk, a city with a rich history and culture and a huge economic potential. Uralsk is a city that, throughout the centuries, has been an important connecting point between our peoples. This forum has a very important focus, as it is working people who make the greatest contribution to the development of our countries. The year 2025 was announced to be the year of working professions in Kazakhstan. And now we're looking back and say that we've contributed to supporting workers, helping develop professional education systems. Time has shown that countries that invest into these areas consistently lead in innovation and sustainable development. Broad adoption of artificial intelligence technologies, all-round digitalization and automation of industrial processes are now leading to fundamental shifts in the labor market. Among these shifting realities, workers of the future must be well equipped to steer new intellectual and digital platforms. And we recognize that the high qualifications of the new generation of workers will be a foundation for the future growth of our countries. So we're making systemic efforts to prepare the new generation of specialists. Kazakhstan has recently adopted a conceptual framework for artificial intelligence in professional education and vocational education. These systems are now essential for machine engineering, energy, agro-industrial sector, and other sectors of the economy. As part of an international consortium, Kazakhstan is now embarked on the construction of its first nuclear power plant with the help of Rosatom. This is a very research-intensive and very complex project that requires skilled workforce. Over 6,000 workers will be involved, and over 3,000 mid-level specialists will be involved. Highly skilled, specialized professionals will also be required for its operation. Developing its nuclear industry is very important for Kazakhstan. we are now focusing on cooperating with Russian universities to address this rising need. The MEFI, a nuclear research university, will open a branch in Kazakhstan. The Al Arabi University, I had a meeting with the rector of MEFI and agreed to provide better conditions for the teaching faculty and researchers. It is said that science is the key to the riches of the world. Those who have the key will get everything else without labor. Now, of course, we see that the realities are different from the ancient times, but this truth has still been uncontested. Russian science is leading in the world, and the education provided by Russian universities is of leading quality, and the partnership between Russian and Kazakhstani universities is a very positive trend that we will support. We have 1,430 agreements, double diploma programs, and joint education projects. We have 9 branches of Russian universities, educating about 4,000 students. The MSU branch has a special note. It was opened back in 2001, and you, President Putin, took an active part in that event. MGIMO University opened a branch in Astana, and it was a great event for us to open a branch of a Kazakhstan university in Russia. In the Omsk State University, a new workforce training system is being created in Kazakhstan. The transformation of the technical and vocational education programs. A plan for 2025 to 2027 has been adopted based on innovative management principles, digitalization, and internationalization. Our colleges will be turned into innovative centers, joining theory with practice, education with industry. So we are developing a dual education with 18,000 enterprises providing working experiences to students still in training. And 600 colleges now have patronage from companies active in the market while providing mentorship and equipment upgrades. There is also a project to provide budget-funded professional and vocational education with targeted training programs and guaranteed employment. At the same time, we're providing vocational guidance so that students see their education as the first step in a successful career. And we're also focusing on raising the public profile and social prestige of the teaching profession, introducing international standards involving foreign managers and developing academic mobility. Over 60 colleges in Kazakhstan are now working with international partners from 30 countries, and also with Russian colleges and enterprises. 9 of our colleges are working with those from Russia, raising the prestige of the working professions as a task of paramount importance. We must make working professions a success story for hundreds of thousands of people. Kazakhstan and Russia are steadily building a collaboration in a workforce training. It is a very important area of our work, and I'm confident that galvanizing our joint efforts will allow us to modernize at an accelerated pace. This area of cooperation can hardly be overestimated, and is truly instrumental to achieving the well-being of our citizens Dear friends, Kazakhstan and Russia are time-tested and trusted partners and allies. We have common history, common memory, common values. The friendship between our peoples is predetermined by fate itself. Thanks to our constructive dialogue at all levels, the cooperation between Kazakhstan and Russia is now filled with new content. We have the longest land or border and is a testament to the good neighborly relations between our countries. I am truly grateful and to the President of Russia for the constant support and the contribution to the work of this forum and the strengthening of our cooperation in every field. There is no doubt that together we'll be able to achieve success in all the areas. I wish this forum successful work. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tokayev. Now, the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. Dear friends, I am happy to be here with President Tokayev to welcome the participants and the organizers of the 21st Regional Cooperation Forum between Russia and Kazakhstan, which, as it was said, is being held in Uralsk. Heads of Russian and Kazakhstani regions, entrepreneurs, legislators, policymakers and experts have all gathered here. Those are the people who are actually involved on the ground in developing the ties between Russia and Kazakhstan. Interregional ties are a true foundation for the entire range of interstate relations, covering trade, economics, energy, transport, agriculture, digital technologies, and other fields. A total of 76 regions out of 89 are maintaining a direct contacts with all 17 regions of Kazakhstan. This forum is held at a time when Moscow is hosting an official visit by President Tokayev. We had very substantive and productive talks, and we also had an informal conversation last night, and today we are continuing our conversations, and we will have a hefty set of documents, including a declaration of a comprehensive strategic partnership and alliance between Russia and Kazakhstan. This document reflects our plans to expand and deepen our interregional and border cooperation. Our countries already have a successful interregional cooperation program until 2028, which is aiming to establish favorable conditions for the comprehensive growth of the regions and to increase our people's standards of living. This is very important, and we see that dozens of agreements and memorandums of understanding and commercial contracts were signed at the sidelines of this forum, which is a testament to the expanding cooperation between Russia and Kazakhstan and the joint aspiration for more joint projects. This forum is devoted to the very relevant topic of the working professions as a key driver of economic growth. We must achieve growth in labor productivity, addressing the social and economic development challenges of today. Skilled professionals are extremely relevant in the labor market today. Import substitution programs, the establishment of domestic production facilities, and localizing value-added production are all very relevant points. Now, we have realized that it's not really about import substitution, but about establishing a domestic and independent technological platforms. That's what we must aspire to and what we must train people to create. During the sessions here, you discussed how to help people find their career, to make a personal contribution to strengthening the industrial potential of your countries. Now, I'd like to underscore that in Russia and Kazakhstan, there are now projects to provide engineering and technical education, including in the regions. And on the national level too, there are similar programs to promote the public profile of working professions in line with the demand of the national economies. Efficient educational and training cooperation programs are being set up between regions, educational institutions, and businesses. For 3 years, we've had the professional degree program in Russia, creating educational clusters, guaranteeing employment. We could also have joint projects to provide technical education to people from both states, especially since the number of people from Kazakhstan who come to study in Russia often prefer engineering disciplines. The Volga region, Siberia, Urals, Moscow and St. Petersburg provide education to about 50,000 people from Kazakhstan, young and very promising people. Branches of 8 large Russian universities operate in Kazakhstan, including the MSU, the Moscow Engineering and Physics Institute, and others. Our cooperation with Kazakhstani partners is also promoted by the Skolkovo Institute. There is a joint project, the Alma-Ata Institute, to provide training in digitalization and information communications, artificial intelligence, providing additional training to government officials in Russian academies. We've also agreed an understanding about a cooperation between Samara region universities and other universities with a number of institutions in Kazakhstan. Russia is a leader in the number of educational cooperation participants with Kazakhstan. And there is no surprise. In autumn 2026, there will be a youth festival in Krasnoyarsk. And we expect our Kazakhstani friends to be there as well. There is also a growing trend of youth and students working brigades that provide a first-hand experience to the young generation of workers. People have an opportunity to get working experience in working professions. There was a similar experience in the Soviet times. In 1959, thousands of people went to the current Kazakhstan to help develop new lands. The Sirius Educational Center in Russia is currently playing a key role. In almost every region, we have initiatives from the center to identify talented students. A similar initiative was launched in Baikonur to find promising students for the space exploration sector. There is also a gymnasium. Regular tournaments are held among young students, and young people from Kazakhstan are taking active part in that, showing their skill in various working professions. Students from Kazakhstan won in electric installation, network administration, and other disciplines. The Kazakhstani participants also showed high proficiency in organizational competencies. Now, all of these aspects and many others, and all the other subjects related to workforce training are regularly discussed by education ministers at forums, the next of which will be held in June 2026 in Kazan, and we invite the delegation of Kazakhstan to take part. Our regions have very broad possibilities for interaction, not only in workforce training, but also in other spheres of economic and social life. I'm absolutely confident that Russian and Kazakhstani regions will continue their productive cooperation based on an expansive network of direct ties and connections at every level, making a sustained contribution to the partnership and alliance between Russia and Kazakhstan. I'd like to wish all the participants and organizers success. Thank you very much. Thank you. President Putin, thank you for the participation. To the Russian Federation. President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, will sign a declaration on the elevation of the interstate relations between the Russian Federation and the Republic of Kazakhstan to a comprehensive strategic partnership and alliance. Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, Mr. Overchuk, and the Deputy Prime Minister of Kazakhstan, Minister of the National Economy, Sergei Shumangain, signed a comprehensive program of economic cooperation between the governments of Russia and Kazakhstan for 2026-2030. Minister of Transport of Russia, Andrei Nikitin, and Minister of Transport of Kazakhstan, Nurlan Sauranbayev, signed an agreement between the governments of Russia and Kazakhstan on cooperation in transit shipments through rail and the transshipment of cargoes headed for third countries. The cooperation between Russia and Kazakhstan will also include transport security and development of road crossing points. Director General of Roscosmos, Dmitry Bakanov, and the Deputy Prime Minister of Kazakhstan and Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Development, Ruslan Madiev, have signed an agreement between the governments of Russia and Kazakhstan on the creation of a Russian-Kazakhstani interstate commission on flight testing of the Soyuz 5 complex and the Baytarek complex. Deputy Foreign Minister of Russia, Mikhail Galuzin, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan, Yermak Kashibayev, are exchanging notes constituting an agreement between the governments of Russia and Kazakhstan on the establishment of General Consulate of Russia in the city of Aktau. Ahead of Rospotrebnadzor and Akpova, and a Minister of Health of Kazakhstan have signed an agreement between Russia and Kazakhstan on sanitary and epidemiological security. Maxim Reshetnikov, Minister of Economic Development of Russia, and Yersain Anagaspayev, Minister of Industrial Development of Kazakhstan, have signed an agreement between the relevant ministries on cooperation with regard to special economic zones. Minister of Education of Russia, Kravtsov, and Minister of Education of Kazakhstan, Suleimanov, signed an agreement and a memorandum of understanding between the ministries on the creation of Russian-Kazakhstani educational organizations in Russia and the Kazakhstan-Russia organizations in Kazakhstan. Minister of Natural Resources and the Environment, Alexander Kozlov, and Minister of the Environment and Natural Resources of Kazakhstan, Yerlan Sambayev, signed a joint plan of action to prepare the introduction of Amur tigers from Russia and the adaptation of the animals. Head of the Nuclear Supervision Authority of Russia and head of the Nuclear Agency of Kazakhstan have signed a memorandum of understanding between the Russian Federal Service and the Kazakhstani agency on the cooperation in nuclear and radiological security and regulation for peaceful use. Representative of Russian Railways Board, Oleg Belozorov, and the Kazakhstani Railways have signed an agreement between the companies to develop interstate railway network joining points. General Director of Russian Post and head of Kazpochta have signed an MOU between the post companies The ceremony is now over. President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Mr. Tokayev, will make a concluding statement.
President Tokayev, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to welcome in Kremlin the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, who is in Russia, on a state visit. Our negotiations took place in a business-like and constructive manner and were productive, which is fully in line with the nature, truly neighborly nature, of relationships between the Russian Federation and Kazakhstan. We discussed in details the entire range of issues, exchanging opinions on topical matters of the international agenda, An important result of the visit is the declaration of the transition of Russian-Kazakhstan relationship to a new, even more advanced level of a comprehensive strategic partnership and alliance. Specific areas of cooperation for the long-term perspective, including the security, investments, and cultural cooperation, are laid down in multiple documents signed today. Of course, priority was given to our economic cooperation. Over the last year, our trade turnover reached $27.8 billion, which is 20% of Kazakhstan's entire international trade. For Russia, Kazakhstan is one of the biggest trade partners in the Commonwealth of Independent States and in the Eurasian territory in general. Then the structure of our retail trade gets more and more diverse, with non-raw materials taken greater place, and the share of national currencies in our settlements now exceeds 96%, which helps safeguard our mutual trade from the international factors. Already there are over $2 billion of Russian investments in Kazakhstan. There are about 70 large-scale projects underway in most key areas of our cooperation. And our bilateral cooperation in the energy sphere is developing steadily, as Russia accounts for most of Kazakhstan's oil exports, and Russia's oil, in turn, is pumped through Kazakhstan to Asia. We have established mutual supplies of energy, and Russia contributes to the modernization of Kazakhstan's heat and hydroelectric energy infrastructure. Russia has supplied natural gas to Kazakhstan consumers for many years, and now we are thinking about expanding gas supplies to Kazakhstan in the north and east of the country, where major industrial facilities of the country are accumulated. Our companies carry out a whole number of projects in agriculture and automotive manufacturing. We're contemplating plans to expand our cooperation in rare earth minerals, and Kazakhstan has some of the key land routes and logistics corridors. So we're working together on increasing the throughput of border crossings. We see great prospects in the development of the north-south international corridor from Russia to the shores of the Indian Ocean. And Kazakhstan hosts a part of this corridor. We maintain close cooperation in space exploration. We jointly operate the Baikonur Space Launch Facility, and we work together on Baitarak project, which provides for the creation of a new launch facility for Soyuz 5 carrier rocket. And we expect the first launch in Baitarak to take place before the end of this year. Our bilateral contacts are greatly expanded and contributed by our regions. Currently, Uralsk is hosting the 21st Regional Forum, and President Tokayev and myself have been able to talk to its participants just today. It is devoted to training highly qualified workers for many areas of economy. Over 30 regions of Russia and regions of Kazakhstan take part in this event. And currently Moscow is hosting Days of Kazakhstan. And tonight, President Tokayev and I are going to see the gala concert of Kazakhstan artists on the historical stage of the Bolshoi Theater. I'd like to point out that the Russian-Kazakhstan humanitarian cooperation has traditionally been very rich and eventful. Our countries closely cooperate in science, education, and sports. and in youth exchanges. There are currently about 55,000 students from Kazakhstan studying in Russia. And Kazakhstan branches of many Russian universities work successfully in Kazakhstan, and we are very satisfied with the fact that the Russian language is used freely all across Kazakhstan, and I'd like to thank the President of Kazakhstan for that. And Russian language in Kazakhstan is one of the official state languages. On our part, Russia contributes to building new Russian language schools in Kazakhstan. There are plans to build 3 more schools in Gzilorda, Taras, and Turkestan in the south of Kazakhstan. When dealing with major international issues, we have reaffirmed very close positions on most of them. Our countries coordinate their positions in the United Nations and in many other bilateral platforms. Russia and Kazakhstan stood at the origins of the Collective Security Treaty Organization and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and they contribute actively to their work. At the BRICS summit in Kazan in 2024, Kazakhstan was given the status of partner state in this bloc as well. And of course, together we work on integration development within the CIS and within the Eurasian Economic Union. In late December in St. Petersburg, there will be a session of the Supreme Eurasian Economic Council and the now traditional informal meeting of CIS leaders. And of course, we're looking forward to welcoming President Tokayev there as well. In conclusion, I'd like to highly evaluate the negotiations we had today, and I'm sure that they will practically contribute to the bilateral Russian-Kazakhstan relationships for the well-being of our countries and the people of our states. Thank you. President Putin, dear colleagues, dear friends, media members, first of all, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to President Putin for his invitation to visit Russia on a state visit and for the amazing hospitality we have enjoyed. I think this visit holds special importance from the point of view of strengthening further strategic partnership and allied relationship between our countries. The agreements reached today fully demonstrate the successful development of the multifaceted cooperation between our two countries and the irreversible nature of this unique cooperation. In my view, the scale of comprehensive cooperation between the two leading states of the so-called post-Soviet space is essentially an important element of Eurasian security, the concept of which has been discussed and developed by a whole number of interested states. It's critically important that we are united by centuries of joint history, active cultural and spiritual ties, common values, common views on today's challenges and future development. This strong foundation underpins our strategic cooperation in all areas. This year marks a whole number of anniversaries that have great importance for our nations. We celebrated the 80th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War, showing due respect to the memory of true heroes, patriots, who showed unity in defending their motherland and achieving the great victory. The 70th anniversary of the legendary Baikonur space launch facility, which symbolizes our many years of cooperation in space exploration. An important milestone is the 20th anniversary of the Russian-Kazakhstan Treaty on Land Border. The world's longest land border is a true symbol of good neighborly relationships. It's important that our cooperation is constantly enriched with new meaning. President Putin and myself have just signed a declaration on the transition of relationship between Kazakhstan and Russia on the level of comprehensive strategic partnership and alliance. This document is of historical significance, reflecting our mutual trust and broad perspectives of cooperation between our nations. In this connection, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to President Putin for his personal contribution to our bilateral relationships. We in Kazakhstan know and respect the President of Russia as a state leader of global scale whose name is well known in all countries of the world and is perceived as a symbol of faith and persistence in defending the interests of Russian nation and the entire Russian state in this turbulent world. Kazakhstan is significantly interested in the prosperity of the Russian Federation. We highly evaluate the current negotiations. It took place in an open atmosphere and brings practical value to the entire spectrum of international and multilateral issues. We have agreed to support dialogue on all levels, paying special attention to matters of developing industry, energy, transport, and logistics, as well as agriculture, high-tech, digitalization, humanitarian cooperation, and the realization of new infrastructure projects. It is with great satisfaction that I say, despite difficult international situation, our international cooperation is developing for the well-being of our nations. The Russian Federation is the most important trade and economic partner of Kazakhstan. In 2024, our trade turnover amounted to about $28 billion. And over the 8 months of this year, it exceeded $17 billion. We currently have the target figure for bilateral trade at $30 billion, and the accumulated volume of direct investments in Kazakhstan's economy has exceeded $27 billion. In 2024, Russia became the biggest investor in Kazakhstan, taking its investments to a record-breaking $4 billion, and investments of Kazakhstan in Russia are also growing, reaching to some $9 million over the last 15 years. Thousands of companies with Russian investment work in Kazakhstan, which is about 1/2 of international companies working in Kazakhstan. 175 major infrastructure projects are underway, and we have agreed to maintain the high level of business contacts and to create all conditions for making business. So we have adopted a comprehensive business program till 2030 and an action plan to implement it. An important role in the development of trade and economic cooperation belongs to strengthening of ties between the regions of the two countries. We have just took part in the 21st Interregional Cooperation Forum, Kazakhstan and Russia, which took part in Uralsk. This forum is devoted to the actual topic of working professions, the support of which has great importance for production facility modernization and in general for the development of our economies. The opening of Russia's General Consulate in Aktau will contribute to the Russian-Kazakhstan ties. All the necessary documents were signed today. We paid special attention to cooperation in the transit and transport sphere. We have agreed to expand projects such as the North-South, the Trans-Caspian International Transport Route, the Ayagos-Bakhte, the Step-Mointy railway line, and others. The importance of trans-border logistics infrastructure was underscored once again. We intend to continue our cooperation to drive forward the promising initiative of Trans-Altai Dialogue. This format will become an effective platform for expanding cooperation between Kazakhstan, Russia, China, and Mongolia in the spirit of neighborly relations and mutual trust. We paid special attention to matters of energy cooperation, where we have made great progress over the recent years. I'd like to emphasize our productive work with Rosatom on building the first nuclear power plant in Kazakhstan. We have agreed to boost our partnership in production, supplies of oil products, coal, and energy, electric energy. We have discussed the prospects of gas cooperation, including the gas supply to border regions of Kazakhstan and transit to third countries. Economic ties of Russia and Kazakhstan grow dynamically through new and innovative points of growth. A number of visits signed over these days will allow our countries to move forward in space exploration, as President Putin mentioned here, nuclear energy, special economic zones, and creative industries. Broad opportunities are opening in the IT sector, where Kazakhstan has accumulated a wealth of knowledge and practical experience. And cultural and humanitarian sphere plays a special role in bringing our nations closer together. The number of events and cultural events, sports events, is growing. Just recently, Moscow successfully hosted the Days of Kazakhstan's Culture in Russia. And previously, Yakutsk and Kazan hosted Kazakhstan artists as part of the Culture Days. And in Astana in March, an alley of eternal friendship was opened. And the square of Kazakhstan and Russian friendship was opened in Moscow yesterday. One of Moscow's streets was given the name of Shahan Alikhanov, officer of the General Staff of the Russian Army, honorable member of the Russian Geographic Society, and a close friend of the famous writer Fyodor Dostoevsky. Such events are looked upon very favorably in both our countries. And the Kazakh Information and Culture Center is about to open at Moscow. And the events organized within my state visit require the highest evaluation. The forum of young leaders and meetings of historians and political scientists. Tonight in the Bolshoi Theater, we'll be watching a concert by Kazakhstan artists. We have discussed in details matters of cultural cooperation, and Kazakhstan currently has 9 international offices of Russian institutes and universities. This year, we complete the work to open a branch of MGIMO in Kazakhstan. We're also working on opening in Kazakhstan the representation of a Russian medical institute. There are about 1,000 schools with Russian language in Kazakhstan, and 1/3 of all school children are educated in Russian language. Besides, we're working on joint projects to build schools with the taking into account education standards of both countries. And in Almaty, we will have an office of the famous Russian Serious School, and Kazakhstan is paying attention to promoting Russian culture and language. In the international organization, Russian language plays an important role in that. We also exchanged opinions on topical matters of international and regional agenda. Kazakhstan and Russia actively and successfully cooperate on international platform, and we have reaffirmed our commitment to close coordination of our activities in the SCO and the CSTO, the Commonwealth of Independent States, and other multilateral structures. Dear colleagues, Today's negotiations have reaffirmed our positive attitude to further boosting our strategic cooperation, and the potential of Russian-Kazakhstan relationship is very high. Currently, there is not a sphere where our countries wouldn't be cooperating productively. There are no unsolvable issues between the Russian Federation and Kazakhstan. This is a great example of our high responsibility and commitment to our joint work. Once again, my gratitude to the President of Russia for productive cooperation and hospitality. I'm confident that truly neighborly relations will take us further on the path of strategic partnership and allied relationship. Thank you.